Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Ties That Bind podcast, DFW. I'm your host, Amber Monroe, and my goal is to foster unity within the community by sharing personal stories that inspire hope, passion, resilience as well. Also, we like to spotlight local businesses too. In a world that often focuses on social media divisiveness and not everything you see is authentic, I'm here to bring the real. The views and opinions of guests do not necessarily reflect those of myself or the Ties That Bind DFW podcast. All right, let's get started. I am
Yay!
so excited to have a very good friend of mine here, Miss Kelli Cowart. We met a while back within the homeschooling community, and she is an artist extraordinaire, face painter, just a wonderful lady, a powerhouse, and I feel like she does it all. Kelli, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Absolutely. So my name is Kelly. I am a local face painter slash entertainer. The name of my business is Painted Pinup Face and Body Art. I've been in DFW now for almost 4 years. I'm a mom, newly engaged, and I'm a member in the homeschool community. I was homeschooling my son for much of his life, and he's doing public school thing now. But yeah, we're just, I'm a real mom, kind of just trying to make it out here in DFW, and I'm a big community over competition kind of gal. So Amber told me the premise of the podcast, and I was like, yes, I want to do that.
Awesome. And I'm so glad that you are excited to be with us today. um,
Absolutely.
well, so first I want to ask, you might have answered this already, but how long have you been a face painter slash entertainer?
So I started face painting about 12 years ago.
Oh,
I started out just doing it as a volunteer. My mom worked for a nonprofit for special needs children and their siblings. They would do respite care, and then they would also host parties for the kids. And I had a cake business at the time, and she was like, if we bought face paint, could you face paint the kids? We need somebody they know and they trust. And I was like, how hard could that be? Turns out it's challenging. It is a lot harder than you would think. Painting on a 3D canvas and painting on a canvas that's doing this all the time, and you know, but it was so much fun, and I loved it, and I got so much like joy out of it, and the parents were really good about hyping me up and telling me how great I was, even though I was awful when I first started out, and I just fell in love with it and kept doing it, and then found out you could be a professional, and I was like, what? You can do this for a job? And so I jumped into the deep end with that, and I've been doing it ever since, and kind of just adding new things on. Last year I started being a swimming mermaid as well, and that's like a lifelong childhood dream that I didn't know could be real, just like the face painting. So yeah.
indeed. And I've been I haven't seen you much, obviously, in person in a while, but I've been following you on
Yeah.
social media. And I love all of your adventures. It all looks, I know it's not as probably behind the scenes as glamorous as it looks, but it looks amazing. And your mermaid arc is amazing. And I've been
Thank
loving
you.
watching. You're welcome. I'm just like, okay, I'm going to live vicariously through her now. um, so what would you say, given everything that you do, what does a typical week look like for you?
So there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that
Mm.
people don't necessarily know or realize.
Okay.
Like when I show up to your party, in your mind, like that's my job. I do my 2 hours or whatever, and I go home and work's done. But there is a lot leading up to that. So I typically come, this is a dress that I may wear on the gig. It's a mermaid dress. And so I will come full hair and makeup. I typically match the theme of your event. So I've like planned out and maybe had to go out and purchase a costume or an outfit to match the theme of your event or put it together. Hair and makeup is usually like 2 hours. And that's just, me showing up, not to mention if I'm showing up as a princess or a fairy or a mermaid or whatever the case may be. Sometimes I'm making the costume. So like my mermaid top, for example, is a retrofitted bathing suit that my daughter and I customized with pearls and rhinestones and things like that. I have a Lightning McQueen jumpsuit that I made for a birthday party, and I dyed a jumpsuit. I cut it, I hemmed it, I added patches to it, I made a hat to go with it. So there's that aspect of it, on top of me having to post on social media like I'm a teenage girl, because honestly, most of my bookings, aside from word of mouth, come from social media. So it's kind of, I always tell people, it's a process of being like, hey, everybody, look at me. Don't forget about me. I'm a mermaid. I'm a face painter, And the more I'm like in your face, the more you're going to be like, hey, we have a party coming up. That girl.
Right.
And so it's like the more I post, the more feedback, the more bookings, the more people are going to remember me. So it's like this weird little popularity contest, if I'm in the front of your mind, you're not going to forget, So there's making all the content, which sometimes can take a ridiculously long amount of time. I'm having to take video clips and edit them, find music that's catchy and fun, do these goofy little trendy audio things or whatever sometimes, just to keep me, keep swimming up at the top of the algorithm kind of a deal. Editing photos in order to post those, cleaning out my kit, making paints, remaking the one strokes, cleaning my brushes, cleaning my sponges, refilling glitter for glitter tattoos, reordering products, practicing things. You know what I mean? The girls that I'm training as part of my mermaid pod, we went to College Station a couple weeks ago and had 2 days of intensive swimming and diving training to be a more professional level mermaid. So we are PADI certified mermaid divers now. So, I tell parents, and I have them sign a thing saying we are not lifeguards, we're not responsible.
Right.
But at the end of the day, when you're swimming with children, you want to be able, if you see some kid at the bottom of the pool, you want to be able to go down, rescue, that sort of thing. So, in that regard, repairing costumes, there is a lot that goes on behind the scenes that I don't show everybody, because, you're just seeing the fun, the razzle dazzle, the show up at your party kind of a thing, so there's a lot that goes on, sort of like a wedding, there's a lot that's going on behind the scenes that you don't need everybody else to know about, to make it look all beautiful and stuff in front.
Right. Oh man. Yeah, that is so true. I can relate on the social media. I've had several different, businesses here and there, and it's a lot of work. It's like a job in itself. You want to make something, like, hold on, let me get my camera and let me just, then you have to edit it, and you're like, can I just live?
That's why social media manager is a job now,
Oh, hey. Yeah, exactly. It really is. Well, you do a great job with your content that you do. So just saying you're doing a great job. It's worth it.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Can you tell me a little bit more about your mermaid troupe? Because I know it was you. But please fill me in on that.
So I started doing it last year. I've been obsessed with mermaids my whole life. Everybody calls me the mermaid face painter because I wear a ridiculous amount of mermaid inspired clothes, and my hair looks very mermaidy. My face paint kit is mermaid themed. And one of my best friends last year, we were discussing it, and she was like, I have a professional tail, right? And I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, I have one. It's just been sitting in my closet for years. I thought I wanted to be a mermaid at one point, but I went and swam with this group of people and they were really mean to me. And so it really just kind of turned me off of it, and I didn't want to do it anymore. And I was like, oh my God, I heard about that with somebody else. And I think that may be the same group that I had, wanted to swim with at one point, but they were really territorial and mean with me too. And so it kind of,
oh no,
I just kind of like, oh, I don't really want to do that. I'm going to focus on face painting. Right. And she was like, if you want to buy this tail from me, I'll sell it to you. And I was like, oh my God, why not? Because mermaid tails, professional mermaid tails can be very expensive. There are, it's not just the tail, there's like a monofin that goes inside of the tail in order to enable you to actually swim properly in it. Otherwise, you're just swimming in a piece of fabric that has your legs bound together, right? And then there's a lot of like practicing, training proper swimming techniques that go along with swimming in this tail. And so I just thought, you know what? And I'm a big believer that God just like presents things to me, and I just have to like take it. And I always say I just like stage dive off with it and let God carry me through the crowd. We'll see what happens, right? I just have to take the leap of faith. Yeah. And so I was like, you know what? Yes, I want to buy the mermaid tail from you. And so she brought it over, it fit, and I was like, I'm just going to start practicing with it. I don't even know how I'm going to advertise this. I don't know if I'm going to be able to swim in it. We'll see. So, and I was also needing to advertise airbrush tattoos because those are water resistant. And that was like a newer service that I was offering. So I went and practiced in it, and I was like, okay, I can do this. And I'm a pretty strong swimmer anyway. And so we went and had a pretend pool party that we filmed purely for content. We had our kids come, we airbrush tattooed them, we filmed each other airbrush tattooing each other. So everybody could use it for content, for advertising. And then me and another friend got in tails and, filmed each other, took photos swimming in the mermaid tails. And then I put together a reel showcasing, hey, everybody, I'm available to be a mermaid for your parties now. And after that, it was like I would post things, but it was all a matter of like, when is somebody going to book this service? And I even spoke to some agencies in the area that I face paint for to find out, what would you charge for this service? Because when you're doing professional services like this, you want to be pretty on par with what everyone else is charging. You don't want to be undercutting people, because that's a really good way to get yourself sort of blacklisted with other entertainers in the area, is if you're constantly just undercutting, that sort of thing. Indeed. If you're going to do it on a high professional level, practice, get as much training as you can, use professional equipment, all of that sort of thing, and charge appropriately. So I figured out what to charge and just kind of put it out there and waited to see, if I would get any bites. And there's a lady in my town that was like, oh my God, my granddaughter's having a mermaid party. Like, she's obsessed. We would love to have you. And I was like so nervous about it, because it was my first gig as a mermaid, and went out and did it. And it was literally the sweetest experience ever. Like, she was just so excited. There was a real mermaid at her party. How did you get here? And so I developed a whole backstory. My mermaid persona, that's what we call it, is I'm Marina the mermaid, and I'm a Texas mermaid, and I'm from the Gulf of Mexico. So that's like my sort of backstory. And so I did this all last year, and it was so much fun. Yeah, it was so delightful. And one of my agents this year was like, okay, you're going to need more than one of you, because sometimes we get hired for these HOA pool parties and they want multiple mermaids. So who's it going to be? And I thought, oh gosh, okay. So I need to have a pod of mermaids. What do I want to require from that? Because I know my strengths and weaknesses. I know what I'm capable of on a job. I learned a lot getting into the, swimming mermaid arena last year, just kind of throwing myself in the deep end, so to speak. And I thought, if I'm going to have other people underneath me, I want to know but those people know how to handle themselves in the water. They know how to handle children in the water. They know what to do in case of emergency. They've got training, on top of being able to be graceful and beautiful and have a backstory. You know, you can't just show up and be like, hi, I'm Kelly, I'm a mermaid, you know.
Right.
We want it to be a magical experience for children. So there's a lot that goes in behind the scenes when you are showing up to be a mermaid at somebody's birthday party. There's a lot of behind the scenes planning that takes place with that. And so I was talking to several of my other entertainer friends, and these two girlfriends of mine, they're sisters, they're clowns. Their dad is a clown, and they learned how to be clowns from like toddler age, and they're face painters and balloon twisters. But when you're a clown, you get extra entertainer training that you don't necessarily get when you're just a face painter. And they were like, we want to be mermaids. Oh my God, can we be mermaids with you? And I was like, let's do it. So there's a mermaid in College Station named Megan, and she does scuba and mermaid diving training. So we made a plan. We went down to College Station for 2 days and got certifications. There are further certifications that I intend to get. It's not necessarily necessary for like birthday party mermaiding, but I have this ridiculous goal one day to swim in the ocean in my mermaid tail. And so that requires several levels of certification. So just for my own personal benefit, I'm going to continue with more training and such. But so this summer, I officially have an expanded pod of mermaids that are available. So if I'm already booked, or if you want multiple mermaids, we've got like a whole pod of us now. So
that's wonderful. Now, how many are in your pod?
So officially swimming and diving certified, we've got 3 of us. And then there are more available. I even have a merman available. I've got two friends that are entertainers in Oklahoma, just over the border. Yeah, and so they're also available for parties or what we call dry gigs, which is like, say you're gonna have us like at a library doing crafts, reading a story, that sort of thing. And I also plan on having like a curriculum available where I can do like education shows as a mermaid. So there's a lot of mermaids tend to do a lot of like water conservation work, ocean conservation work, that sort of thing. And so my plan is to expand into that so that I can do education shows for schools, daycares, libraries, you know, all of that sort of thing as well.
That is amazing. That is wonderful. You know, you mentioned the training that you're going out and doing. And like I said, I've been following you for a while, and I love that, you know, you're out there taking makeup classes, not makeup classes, but face painting classes.
I did.
Well, I mean, there's makeup involved, obviously. So like regular
I'm a makeup artist now as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, I that doesn't surprise me. You know, you always look beautiful and put together.
Thank you.
For your you're welcome. And recently, you had traveled and you've taught classes, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I just think that's amazing. And, you know, I know people ask you this all the time, but how do you manage everything, like your work-life balance? You know, you homeschool. I mean, obviously not now, but even still, that's only recent that you haven't been.
Yes.
How do you do it? Because I want to know.
So I have people ask me that a lot. I don't know how you do it all. And my answer is, I don't. I try really hard. I do my best, you know, but I'm a regular mom, just like everybody else, you know. There are some things I'm really great at and some things I'm really terrible at, you know. Some weeks I'm like, I'm doing it. I'm getting all the things done. Look at me being so productive. And there are other weeks where I am like, oh my God, I am a hot mess. Like, I don't feel like I've gotten anything productive done this week at all, you know. And it's like, honestly, you know, if I can just make sure I'm to all my gigs on time and I'm professional and I've got everything I need and I'm doing a good job, you know, for work and that sort of thing. Sometimes that's all I've got, you know what I mean? And, you know, some weeks
Yeah,
are so
true. Yeah.
busy. Yeah, some weeks are so busy at home. Like everybody's like, oh my gosh, you're always posting, you're always this, you're always that. But there are some weeks where I'm so busy with stuff at home that like I've got tons of content in my phone, but I don't have time to like edit video, edit photos, put things together in a cohesive
Right.
manner. It can sometimes take 2.5 hours to make one video. You know what I mean?
Right.
If my
Yeah.
apps aren't working properly, if I keep getting interrupted, if I can't find the right song, if I have to, you know, edit videos or whatever, if they're too dark, that sort of thing, that
Right.
stuff can take so much time. And so,
Mm.
you know, one of the things, I was a single mom for, gosh, almost 5 years. And
Mm.
when I met you, I was homeschooling my son, and we absolutely loved it. But he's got severe dyslexia.
Mm.
He's high functioning autistic. And while the structure or the looser structure of homeschooling was so beautiful and so good for him, his learning disabilities were so severe that no matter what curriculum I tried or whatever, I was not making any headway with his reading, writing, and math.
Mm.
And for
Mm.
me, you know, I'm an artist. I literally swim as a mermaid and paint on kids' faces for a living. That is my actual job. That's how I keep the lights on and pay the bills and feed everybody. But
Mm.
even in that, I have to know how to read. I have to know how to write. I have to know how to do basic math at least. And
Mm.
so,
Right.
you know, my son's an artist, and I would not be shocked if he made his living as an author or some sort of
Mm.
performance artist or a, you know, canvas artist or a sculptor or all of it, whatever.
Yeah.
I try not to limit him. I try to encourage him because I truly feel like that's his purpose in life. God put him on this earth to be some sort of an
Mm.
artist. But even in that, I tell him, like, I have to remind him all the time, son, what is my job? And he's like, you're a princess. And I'm like, exactly. But what do I have to do? I have to be able to write invoices. I have to be able to write content. I have to be able to
Mm.
write out contracts. I have to be able to read all of those things, you know?
Mm.
And I
Right.
have to be able to add up invoices properly. I have to be able to do my stupid taxes. I have to be able to put in orders for new products. You know, there is a lot that goes on where I still have to have those basic skills. And so, you know, we really went back and forth for a long time. How do I put him in school? Do I keep him home? What do I do? And there came a point where
Mm.
I just felt like I was holding him back. And so we made the difficult choice to put him in school because he just needed the extra help. And I didn't
Mm.
have the finances available to hire, you know, private tutors all the time.
Right.
And public school was kind of like our best option. And so that was
Yeah.
really difficult. But it was also, you know, as a self-employed single mom, I was having to take as many jobs as I could because I couldn't afford to say, oh no, I can't. This is during our school time. Oh, I can't because this is, you
Right.
know, this time. I couldn't afford to say no. And
Right.
so, you know, I do my best to be as present as possible when I'm home. Sometimes the content doesn't get made. Sometimes I have to put the phone down. You know, I've got grandbabies living
Mm.
at my house now. And sometimes they
Right.
just need you. Sometimes my daughter just needs my help or my attention or whatever. Sometimes my son, sometimes my other daughter. You know, sometimes, you know, I'm newly engaged. I've got a fiance now, you know, and so it's like sometimes I have to prioritize my family over my work.
Mm.
But in that, you know, my family knows what is our birthday rule, family, and they will tell you no birthdays on Saturdays. You know, I don't care if it's my birthday or the baby's birthday or my daughter's birthday. Nobody celebrates birthdays on Saturdays because that's mom's money making day. You know,
Right.
typically I make a full week's worth of income in one day. Sometimes
Mm.
I'll have Friday, Sunday gigs. It's becoming more and more frequent. More and more frequently, I have weekday gigs, which wasn't really a thing. But man, there is something going on every day in DFW, let me tell you.
Yes.
And so, it's just kind of, everybody knows, I'll try to throw you a birthday party if you want a birthday party or if you want to go out and celebrate or whatever, but it's not going to be on a Saturday,
Right.
And so I miss out on a lot of like family events, because everybody wants to have their parties on Saturdays, but if I have to work, I typically,
Right.
my new brother-in-law, got married in February, and I had to turn down quite a few gigs because I wanted to commit that day to helping them with their wedding.
Yeah.
But that's essentially me taking a week off, and
Right.
I'm self-employed, so I don't have PTO, I don't have sick days, I don't have, any of that. And so, it's a struggle, some days, some weeks it's a struggle more than others. But I am very blessed that my kids, my fiance, my family by and large understand. They don't always remember, but they do understand that, I have to make a living and my hours are weird, and they do appreciate and respect like when I do take time off, when I do pass up on gigs in order to be there for, certain events, certain life events, or to spend time or go on a vacation, God forbid,
Yeah.
But like even my wedding, we're planning our wedding, and I told my fiance, okay, these are the months that we can do it. Aside from that, like, we kind of can't do it because I have to do it during a slower time. Otherwise, I'm declining potentially thousands of dollars in order to just take the week off and have my wedding.
Right. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a lot. And from what I see, I feel like you handle it, with grace. Not that that's easy. And I know, like you said, we all have our days. And so we don't tell everybody everything that we think and feel.
Right. But, I don't necessarily, air out all my dirty laundry, but I do try really hard to be very real.
Yes.
Especially on Facebook. I feel like Facebook is a bit more intimate. I've got, mostly friends on Facebook. I don't really have like clients on my personal Facebook. I do have other face painters and entertainers on my Facebook, but it's all people that I have a personal relationship with, that I know personally. And so, I have shared my struggles with single motherhood, my struggles with, I was in an abusive marriage before, and I felt like God wanted me to share things that I was going through and things that I was struggling with in order to shed a light on what this really looks like, because it doesn't look the same, in order to show other women out there, you can do this, The hard part of that is my situation and circumstances aren't necessarily going to be yours. So I've had a couple of women reach out to me and be like, how did you do it? I need to get out. How did you do it? And I'm like, well, I did this, but that's not necessarily your situation, maybe. You know what I mean? This may not work for you. You may not have this, but these are some resources. And I will 1,000%, support you, in this choice. And, these are some things that you should do. These are kind of across the board standards that you should do in order to help you, So I try to be real honest, and I try to be real and open without, sharing all my drama. You know what I mean? I'm a real person. I have, real struggles and that sort of thing. But at the same time, I try to keep things classy, I guess.
Well, and I think you do a great job of
Thank
that.
you.
Yes, you're welcome. And I think it's important for people to see that and see those struggles and to be inspired.
Yes.
Nevertheless, I also wanted to ask you, we mentioned it earlier before we were recording,
Mm,
but to maybe talk about your ADHD. I am on that team as well. And
yes.
just kind of, that's why I relate so much to you. Just kind of
Yeah.
what it's like balancing the fun part, like, wow, I love this. This is my passion. And then, you mentioned taxes earlier. I'm just like, gross.
Girl.
So maybe kind of, if you have time, go into that for just a few
Yes.
minutes.
Yeah. So it can be a superpower or it can be your worst enemy.
Mm,
I
yep.
can hyper focus like nobody's business when I'm at an event and it's crazy and it's loud and there's kids screaming everywhere and all the things. Doesn't bother me in the slightest. I can, my friends always say, you function creepily well in the midst of chaos. And I'm like, I know, right? You know?
Yeah.
And so that it helps me. It helps me to be extremely creative, to think outside the box with things, to I don't know if it's ADHD or what that allows me to be kind of fearless when I'm taking, you know, a leap of faith with business, starting a new venture or a new product or a new service or, whatever the case may be. I just do it, I just do it and hope for the best kind of a thing. I prep as best as I can, but then at some point you just got to go for it.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to like executive function tasks, oh my God, I struggled so hard. Like, in all honesty, I was 2 years behind on taxes. And
Oh.
it was literally like this dark cloud that was hanging over me for the longest time because, my son was on Medicaid. You don't get, family benefits when you're self-employed. And then there was like all these things where it was like, oh, well, you could qualify this, but we need to know what you make per year. And with that, they need to see your income tax return. I hadn't
Yes.
filed it. And the craziest part was I was going to get a return. So it's not like, oh God, I'm so scared because I'm going to have to pay all this
Right.
money and I don't have all this money. And no, I was going to get a return, but it was like, I have all these write-offs. I have all these receipts. I have to comb through at least 6 or 7 different things to organize all the expenses, all the receipts, calculate all of my write-offs for my home office, my utilities, go through all my invoices, which, because I hire other people too, which is my income and which is somebody else's income,
Oh,
whose
wow.
income
Okay.
is it? Tabulating what I've paid to all these different people, it's a lot. And so thank God for my fiance. He's the total opposite of me. He's very diligent and extremely meticulous and very, he's a data sheet kind of guy. And I'm like, oh, Excel, gross. And he's like, pushing up his glasses
Clickety
and
clack.
making a spreadsheet for our wedding. And I'm like, oh my God, I love you. That's so amazing. So he
Right.
helped me. But it was so overwhelming at one point that like, I knew I needed to hire an accountant, but there was all these things I needed to do to prepare to give over my stuff to an accountant. And I couldn't even do that,
Oh,
so,
wow. Yeah.
in that regard, executive dysfunction is real and it's terrible,
It can be a dream crusher if you let it.
Yes.
but
Yes.
but yeah, having people in your corner that can take on that you don't want to or take too long to do, yeah, that's gold right there.
Yes.
I can attest to
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. One of my sayings that I think I say the most is teamwork makes the dream work. You
Yes.
can't, it doesn't matter if you're a stay-at-home mom or if you're an entrepreneur or if you're, working somewhere out if you have a muggle job.
Yeah.
Nobody can do it by themselves. It
Yep.
literally takes a village to just do life. And I am a
Yep.
big advocate of having people that, you can rely on each other, whether it's, hey, I need a babysitter, or can you give me a ride, or, can you help me with this project? I can't, I'm having a
Yeah.
block or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have been so blessed throughout my life with the most
Oh.
amazing people that have been so willing to like come alongside me and, you know, do life with me. And that has
Yeah.
been the most invaluable thing in my life because
Mhm.
I tell people all the time, I'm not successful in my business because I'm so amazing. I'm successful in my business because I have, God has blessed me with all these people or abilities or things in my life that have helped me to get to where I am today, because I'm
Wow.
a hot
That's
mess.
hey, join the club here. Yeah, no,
Right?
that's I'm like,
We
what?
never meet because we can't pick a day and we never remember. So,
Right? Yeah, exactly. No, but that's great that you do have that community, and you're right. It's never nothing should ever be a lone solitude journey when you're trying to get
yeah.
somewhere in life. No, that's wonderful. I have just a couple more questions.
Sure.
One thing I was going to ask is, what would you say is the craziest face painting experience you've ever had? It can be a good crazy or a bad crazy, but what's like the
Sure.
wildest standout, what the heck moment for you?
So I've had a few. I will say one of the funnest and funniest experiences I ever had. I had this guy call me and he was putting on a diaper shower for his buddy, which is like, it's basically a guy's version of a baby shower. They
Okay.
barbecue and they drink beer and everybody brings diapers, right? And so he was like, we would love to hire you for this. And I was like, is it just going to be a bunch of dudes? And he was like, yeah. Like, is that okay? Are you down for that? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. That sounds hilarious. I'm down. So I show up at this diaper shower and it's just a whole bunch of guys. It's probably a group of like 30, 40 guys. And they did not tell the dad to be that I was coming. And so this part kind of threw me off, but I just ran with it. I show up and they've got him blindfolded and they're like, just sneak in, be real quiet. He has no idea who's coming. And I was like, oh my gosh, this poor man. So I set up and I've got my paintbrushes and they've got him blindfolded and they're like, okay, we've got your entertainment here, the lady of the hour. And even behind the blindfold, I can see all the color drain from his face and I see his eyebrows raise up. Like, this poor man thought they hired him a stripper. And you could tell, like, he was just panicking. And they take the blindfold off and I'm standing there with my paintbrushes and he's like, hello? And I was like, hi. And he was like,
Oh my gosh.
who are you? And I was like, I'm here to be your face painter. I'm here to usher you into fatherhood with your first face paint. And he goes, oh, thank God.
Oh my
I think
goodness.
I painted him as like a cat or a tiger or something like that.
Oh
And
wow.
literally, it was so much fun. Every guy there was totally down for it. I painted the members of Kiss. I painted the Ultimate Warrior.
Oh.
I did tigers. I did cats. I'm pretty sure I did Sting, the professional wrestler. All these different things. And it was the funnest party, not a child in sight. And they were all just willing to be goofy and fun for this guy's diaper shower. And that is top tier, one of my favorite memories from doing face painting for sure.
That wow, yeah, no, that sounds pretty memorable. You sound like you handled it way better than I would have. So
So hilarious.
that's part of the job, I guess, being able to
Yeah.
adapt.
Yes, it's a
um,
very important part of the job that you don't realize. And I think probably not everybody is real great with like improving things, But if you can do that, that's definitely a very fabulous skill to have if you're going to be an entertainer or a face painter.
Indeed. What is one quick thing that you would like people to know about face painters? Like anybody looking for a face painter, what's something that you wish everybody could know
Sure.
before hiring or something like that?
Absolutely. So a couple quick things. You want to hire a professional if it's within your budget. If it's not within your budget, you can always look to, like if it's a community event, get a sponsor. A lot of companies love sponsoring like the kids corner of an event or, that sort of thing. I've had PTAs hire me. PTAs allocate funds for things like that. I've been sponsored by private companies for a variety of events, like realtors love to sponsor face painters, other small businesses, law firms, things like that will happily sponsor the entertainment for the day, and then we all display like a sign saying free face painting sponsored by such and such law firm or such and such real estate, that sort of thing.
Okay.
So I highly recommend that. That being said, I know that professionals aren't always within everybody's budget, so I'm always happy to provide safe face paint resources for people. Please, for the love of God, don't use craft paint. Don't use acrylic paint on kids' faces. Also, the stuff off of Shein or the Halloween store typically is awful. Like, I'm a professional. I teach face painting. I've been doing this for over a decade. Those products are so terrible, like not even I can make anything that looks good out of them. So sometimes at Halloween, and I've got a pretty large roster of professional face painters that I book out. But during times like Halloween or Easter when everybody is booked, I always joke, even the really crappy face painters are booked during those times. Sometimes I can't provide you with anybody. And so I'll say, okay, this is a product you can get either from my Amazon storefront, these are safe, or at Michael's, this particular brand is safe, or go get you a glitter tattoo kit. A baby or a monkey can do glitter tattoos. They're so easy. That being said, yes, I do them as a professional. Yes, I charge for that, but I'm doing quicker. I've got a wider variety of products that I can use for it. I'm also adding things to them to make them more fun. I come dressed up, in a fun outfit. It's not just me showing up and putting glitter or paint on people. I like to say I bring the party with me. So even if it's just me that shows up and you've got a sheet cake from HEB, you've got a party, When you hire professionals, we've got insurance. We're using professional grade products. We have invested thousands of dollars into training, going to classes or going to conventions or things of that nature. I host private workshops and local workshops all the time. I'm a member of the DFW Face Painters Guild. I've got insurance personally. I will never use a product that is unsafe for use on the skin. And so when you hire a professional, that's what you need to look for. A professional setup. My products are clean. I will never show up to your event with dirty products and a dirty looking kit. Also an important thing during the summertime, just like your pets and your plants, when it's super hot outside, we require a shade. So like a well-covered porch or a pop-up canopy or something like that that's staked into the ground, because our products and ourselves as people, I can't go and work in an open field for 2 to 4 hours in the middle of the summertime. I'm not willing to get skin cancer in order for your event to be good. As well, all the people that are coming in getting painted, they don't want to be standing out in the middle of the open sun. You know what I mean? It's hot out there.
Right.
And so, if nothing else, I do require structured shade for my artists when we are doing outdoor events because, it's very hot outside and it can affect the quality of balloons will pop easier. If you've got them just exposed to direct sun for hours, face paint starts to get a bit melty and doesn't work properly. So big things to remember when you're booking a professional. And book in advance, if at all possible. There are certain times of the year, like honestly, if you want to hire me for Halloween, call me now, book me now, because those things book up. I've already got gigs on the books for next Easter. So if you,
that's amazing.
If you just have, if you have a date and time for your event, you don't even know where it's going to be yet, call and book us now. Book a year in advance if you can, because there's only so many good quality professionals in the area. So if you want like the best artists available, you need to, if you find one, book them in advance.
Get on top of that, right?
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, those are great tips. Lastly, I was going to have you kind of plug any events you have going on. You can talk about, tell everybody your website, phone number, how to reach you.
Absolutely. So I'm going to send you my Beacons link, and it's got all my socials that you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Painted Pinup. My website is, I'm building a new website, so I'm doing a light rebranding, but currently my website is paintedpinupfacebody.com. And you can book us for balloons, face painting, airbrushing, mermaids, characters, stilt walkers. My two best friends are stilt walkers. Essentially, any sort of party services that you need in the area, I can book them. Once you're kind of plugged into the community and you know the really good entertainers, we all kind of book each other out. So
that's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'm going to have those links plugged in to my podcast site as well as social media. So whenever this airs, y'all should be able to go and find all of her information. Kelli, I want to thank you so much for talking with me today and educating us all about face painting and giving inspiration about your life and just giving hope to those who also might have big dreams such as yours. It has been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We will see you next time on The Ties That Bind DFW. Have a great day and God bless. Bye.
Bye.